War is a matter of gray areas. Every decision made and every battle fought comes with its own set of casualties and consequences. If you were placed as the leader of a fallen kingdom or a righteous rebellion, what decisions would you make in order to claim victory? You're watching Switchera, and this is our review of Fallen Legion Rise to Glory on the Nintendo Switch. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory tells the story of a war in the kingdom of Phonumia from two perspectives, one being a princess who is given a strange grimoire after her father dies suddenly, and the other is of the princess's highest general who believes that the royal family has been compromised, so he tries to take over the kingdom by force to become its savior. The game was previously released on the PlayStation Vita and on the PS4 in the form of Fallen Legion Sins of an Empire and Fallen Legion Flames of Rebellion. Each game told a different campaign. Now that Fallen Legion Rise to Glory has made its way to Nintendo Switch, both campaigns are brought into a satisfying package that challenges both your skills and decision making. I have a lot of thoughts about this one as a whole, and the story is definitely part of that. Starting out with the Flames of Rebellion campaign, I got to know the war from the side of Leander, the general of the princess. Please excuse my pronunciation if it's wrong. While I wasn't a huge fan of having to scroll through text between each level, there is some smart writing going into the main characters at the very least. The more I progressed through the campaign, the more I could start to feel Leander's struggle to keep his men on his side and try and take control of Phonumia the hard way. Despite being a traitor by definition, I could really begin to sympathize with the guy because, at the end of the day, he did have a really good point. The only criticism I have of his story is that the side characters were never more than plot point side characters, and there are some developments in the end that seem to happen too quickly for any real impact. That brings me to the Sins of an Empire campaign. As I played through Flames of Rebellion first, it was easy for me to see Princess Cecile as the person who was unfit to rule and someone I was supposed to hate. However, as I saw the events unfold through her eyes, I was quickly singing a different tune. This is a woman who never wanted the throne and even grew to hate it. Yet, due to her father's death, she knew that her responsibility to Phonumia was more important than her desires. Once again, the writing is deep enough that I could understand her thought process. The developments that happened in the end on her side of the story also felt a bit more earned, though that probably was because I knew what was already going to happen. Moving on to the gameplay, this is something that I was unsure of at first, and I really got stuck on. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory takes the main character of its story and has them control a party of up to 3 soldiers called Exemplars. Each one of them has different stats and abilities, and their attacks are controlled by the Y, B, and A buttons respectively. Leander and Cecile can aid with magic attacks with the use of the X button. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory is very formulaic at its core. The game is spread out in a series of levels. Each one will have you choosing your 3 exemplars and automatically running through them. You'll come across a group of enemies that you have to defeat, and you do that until the level is over. In essence, that's really all that the game is. At first, this is where I was sure that the game couldn't really work. However, it was a few hours through that it really started to click with me. I also want to mention that I do wish that the game had a preset or loadout option where you could automatically have your exemplars and their abilities in place, because as it stands now, you have to manually select them every time you enter a level, which kind of breaks the pace of the game. The game may be nothing but going through battles, but Yummy Yummy Tummy Games, no, I'm not making that up, has fleshed out that system well enough that it really starts to get interesting the more you play. Your exemplars will upgrade their own stats if they're used enough. There are 3 gemstone slots that function as perks that you can unlock as you play, and there is a block button that can give you the advantage in combat if you time it right for a perfect block. The battles then become about timing your attacks and watching your opponents to block at the right time. The only issue with this setup is that getting into this rhythm of striking and blocking is really ill-defined at the start of the game. Furthermore, the period in which you must block to execute a perfect block is also ill-defined, making it difficult to gauge when to use it. It wasn't until the later points in the game that I really started to understand it. Battling isn't the only thing you'll be doing in Fallen Legion Rise to Glory. In between some of the fights, you'll be given situations via text at the bottom of the screen that tell you to choose your course of action. They range from deciding whether to execute or recruit a group of spies, or to heed the warnings of one of your soldiers that someone's trying to assassinate you from the inside. These decisions offer benefits to your exemplars in battle, but they also have long-term consequences on your overall performance. Because of this, it's not always the right choice that gets the best results. In order to get the most benefits and morale increase for your army, you'll have to think like a leader. I often found myself torn between decisions because I weighed the immediate stat boost between getting a longer bonus to my army's morale. It came down to what I felt was more important at the time, and I really liked that. On top of that, certain decisions can open additional missions to complete throughout the world. The only thing that I wish this system added was multiple endings, because as it stands now, they don't hold a lot of bearing over the overarching story. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory debuted on the PS Vita. As such, don't expect the world of the graphics in the game. Everything is in 2D and the characters are clearly anchored at certain joints. I wasn't a huge fan of this style at first, but it was something that did grow on me the longer I played the game. It also helped that there were enough flashy effects with each attack that it never became downright ugly. It's worth mentioning that the game mostly runs smoothly. When a lot of attacks happen on screen at one time, the game can stutter and take a minute to catch up. I also experienced one situation where I got stuck during a level. It wasn't an aggressive problem, and I definitely think the developers will take care of it in the future. Fallen Legion Rise to Glory didn't capture me at first, but I soon found myself in a glorious rhythm with the game. Utilizing a series of attacks, blocks, and customization was exhilarating. It also helps that all of these battles were framed around a war where there were no heroes or villains, just people with agendas. All of it is wrapped up in a worthy package that lets you explore both sides of the story to your heart's content. It's for these reasons that I'm rewarding Fallen Legion Rise to Glory with an 8 out of 10. I also want to give a thanks to Nipponichi Software for providing us with a review copy. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're more of a visual learner, then you can follow us on our website. Every video we post has a written review published, and we also have tons of extras there for you to read as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay.